Hey, for anybody wondering, this is what it looks like under full blues with the 32-inch LED seascape light from Coral Life in the innovative marine 10-gallon nano aquarium. Currently in my tank, I have one really mean blue-legged hermit crab that's eaten everything in the tank, to include any other kinds of blue-leggeds or red-leggeds. But nonetheless, it didn't matter even if I kept other shells in there for the tank. It still went on a rampage and killed all my other hermit crabs and what have you. I've got, if you can see up here in the top right of the tank, I have a cirrus snail. I had more, but they've since passed away because they don't live very long. But nonetheless, I've got that. I've got some green star polyps that aren't fully out right now. I just did a water change, so it'll take them a bit to acclimate to the slight parameter change. But nonetheless, everything's okay with that. I mean, people always say rose bubble tip anemones or bubble tip anemones in general need a lot of light, but as you can see, they're fully extended, they're healthy. I feed my bubble tip anemone some frozen brine shrimp probably about once every 2 to 3 weeks. I give it some in a little test tube that I have. I just thaw it out and then I use a little squirt bottle to squirt it into its mouth and it eats it. And at that time my hermit crab usually tries to mess with it, but it can't really do anything about it. So, and then up here in the top left I have a homemade mesh that I made with, I think it was some sewing craft stuff, and it was also like a fishing, almost like a fishing line material that you can get at like a Joann's or any kind of craft store for that matter. But I basically made it in a cylinder shape, cut out a little spot in the back for where my wave maker goes, and I guess it's a gyre, wave maker, what have you, but regardless, I have that covering that just as like an anemone guard, just in case. You never know. But when I first had my anemone, it was further over here where I originally placed it. It was on the rock and it moved back there and it hasn't moved since. So it means it's getting plenty of light, it's getting adequate food, and it's pretty healthy. But yeah, beyond that, I don't really have much else in the tank right now. I just have a little heater on the side. It gives it a little bit of extra heat in the tank if needed. I just use regular live sand. I have more shells back there, some of which are discarded from inhabitants of this tank that this little bugger right here quite literally ate, because I saw him doing it. He'd flip them over and then eat them, and it didn't matter if they were bigger than him, he'd still do it. So that's why I don't have any more hermit crabs or anything like that. Like, he doesn't mess much with snails, but other hermit crabs, you put them in there and within, I can guarantee you within a month period, you put 10 hermit crabs in this tank, he'll eat them all. And that's what he did to the last ones I had in there. And I had a mixture of blue leggeds and red leggeds, and I've been told that if you have a mixture, it's typically okay because that reduces aggression. But even the red leggeds that were bigger than him, he still eats. So, yeah, beyond that, I have a little Coral Life magnet scraper. It's pretty nice. It does its thing. Keeps the glass relatively clean. And then up here, in case I need extra light, I do have a COB light up here, which I could turn on if I wanted. It's got more of a white hue to it when I turn it on, but I don't need it for the algae. I don't really have much algae eaters in my tank right now. In the back, I have another anemone guard right here that I made using the same fishing line and sewing crate that I used previously for the anemone guard around my wave maker. Sort of gyre pump thing. But nonetheless, I have that. I have a filter sock that I change out. I probably rinse it out maybe once a month or two, just because I don't have a high bio load in this tank. So nitrates are not bad when I do tests and stuff like that. They usually stay pretty low as long as I do regular water changes. So it's no bother with that. I keep some chromatic media back here. I use the ChemiPure Blue. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's down there. Yeah, my light's not so good for that. I'll have to try to get a flashlight to show you guys next time. But down there I keep ChemiPure Blue, and then I also have some chromatic media just to have like a nitrifying bacteria on it, which is pretty nice just to break it down and do the whole nitrate and then gas it off. And then here I have a carbon filter that I separate out my filter chambers from. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just a carbon filter chamber that filter pad that I use. It's a cheap way to have a filter media that you can basically, so like after this runs out, so I probably run this for about 3 to 6 months, and then I switch them out, and it's just good to have that extra carbon in there to break down some of the elements in the tank, just so you don't have so many phosphates and nitrates and metals and what have you in the tank, in case you ever get stuff like that in your tank. But nonetheless, I top it off with distilled water, and it's pretty simplistic. I use seawater, and I probably top it off maybe once a week, once or twice a week, and beyond that I scrape the glass once weekly, and I test once every probably half a month. That's what I do, a big test. And for testing, if you want to know what I do for that, I can show you. Here's one of my filter socks, as you can see. Pretty nice to have that, just in case I want to use some bleach on that. Rinse it out with distilled water, and then put it back in there. They're pretty good for reusing. But for testing, what I use is I use I believe, let's see if it says on the front of it. Yeah, it's the portable refractometer. It's pretty nice. I think it's one that lights up for when you're trying to check salinity, so you can actually see inside it, even if it's like a little darker. And I believe I keep my salinity around 1.025. It fluctuates maybe to 1.024 sometimes, but I haven't had any issues lately. And if I ever get new corals and I have any issues with them, I use this German designed STNX, which is pretty nice for a coral dip. And beyond that, for the big tests and stuff like that, when I'm not just checking weekly salinity, I do this test right here. It's the, let's see what it says on it. Yeah, it's just the standard all-in-one reef test from API. It's the Reef Masters test kit, pretty nice. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, I just check all my parameters with that. It's pretty good. It's simplistic. It's something easy for me. And what makes it nice for me is that while I'm in college and I'm doing studying and stuff like that, everything's automated. So what makes it neat about the Coral Life LED Seascape is that a lot of the reef tank lights, you'll spend all this money for all these crazy apps and all these high pars and all these different color spectrums you can do. I mean, you can do all those color spectrums with this light, but the thing that I like about it is that a lot of the reef tank lights that are out there nowadays, they require you to buy a actual external sort of like sensor. It's almost like another plug-in you have to do into the wall that allows you to set a timer for when your lights come on and when they come off. And this one has that already built in it. So that makes it nice for me when I'm busy doing field work and stuff like that, because I don't actually have to worry about redialing in the lights, because once you have it dialed in, as long as you've done your settings correctly, it'll mimic the sun's rays by coming on in the morning just like the sun would, and then it slowly ramps up to like, so what I do in the morning, so I can explain my light schedule I guess a little bit with regards to this, but nonetheless, for my light schedule, I do whites in the morning for probably half an hour just because I don't like a lot of algae growth in my tank. And beyond that, I have blues going the whole day until probably maybe 5 or 6 in the afternoon, and then for about maybe half an hour to 20 minutes, I run the red spectrum. And the only reason I do that is because, like most people say, like they don't know what actual light spectrum to run in a reef tank. But as you know in biology, blue lights like this typically penetrate deeper in the ocean. So that's why a lot of corals, that's the main source of light in which they use in terms of actually photosynthesizing. Because even my anemone, as you see in the center, will photosynthesize. I mean, that's why the pigments in the center of it are green, which is pretty cool. And to me, like when I look at this tank, it looks like the light looks a lot prettier than this. It looks more purplish when I see it, but the way my phone captures it, it's more of a blue hue. But this is the blue setting. I'm not sure if I set it to max. I don't believe I did, but yeah, you might be able to set it to one setting higher than this. I'm not sure about that. I haven't messed with it in a while. I set it probably about a year ago, and I haven't messed with it since. And beyond that, I'm currently looking to get maybe a Molly Miller blenny, because there's a lot of diatoms in my tank, and just in case there would be any kind of aptasia or anything to worry about, it would take care of that. So that would be nice just to have it. But yeah, beyond that, that's just my reef tank. I would definitely, as long as you got like a good one, recommend the Coralife LED Seascape, just because it's relatively inexpensive as compared to other lights. From what I see and what I've known from the reef store that I bought it from, or should I say the aquarium store that carried corals, it does grow corals. You just have to have the right tank for the job. You can't have a 30-inch deep tank. You can't have there's just certain caveats. And if you want a 30-inch deep tank with this kind of light, then you'd have to get 2 lights instead of just 1. But even so, spending, say for example, when I bought this light, it would, to get 2 of them, it would be about, depending on what state you live in taxes, it'd be about $500. So spending $500 for a light versus spending $700 to $1,000 for a light that might not even provide you enough light for your tank, because it only fits like a 24 by 24 or a 30 by 24 radius, whereas the 2 LED Seascapes would completely take care of your entire tank just because of how long it is. I would most definitely recommend going with the LED Seascape as a good light. So if anybody's interested in getting any of these products, you can go to Petco and get them, but I would recommend just looking at your local reef store to see if they sell anything like this, because that's where I did it, and it's always good to support local businesses. But yeah, that little cup in the back there, if you see it, I just have it there in case I want to take out anything from the tank, or if I ever want to do like a dip of like any new corals that are coming in, like getting the salinity right in that little cup. I could take it out, and then I just drip acclimate anything inside the little cup that I have there for coral frags, so that it acclimates to my salinity level in my tank before I put it in here. But yeah, beyond that, I might get a Molly Miller blenny, some more cerent snails, and even though I'd like to get more hermit crabs, my little demon right here won't let me, so I guess I won't be doing that. But yeah, that's my reef tank. If you guys have any questions about anything, or you'd like to leave a comment in the description below, feel free to do so.